today I'm going to be taking these three things and turning it into this. So this is kind of a different style of ply, and it's really fun. And what I've done to create it is a really thin single, so that's this pink, with a thick and thin natural cream, basically, color. And then these are two of my homemade spindles. This one I just painted, but these two are homemade, and I painted them too, or this one. That one's just mostly glue. Anyway, so it's a little different because I have my seat down. Usually I have the spindles resting on the couch so that it's, to me, a little easier to start. Yeah, this is right. Here we go. But I'll put them on the floor and see what happens. Alright, might get a little noisy, but hopefully it'll still work. So for me, I start out and I just knot the ends together. And this is handy because I'm going to take my plying spindle and literally just loop that so that you have your two singles and you have your thing. And it's pretty stuck there. So from there, I like to have it with the pink on the inside because that's the one I want to have really tight for this particular style of plying. So of course you always spin the opposite direction that you ply in the opposite direction you spin. So I always spin that way, so I always ply the opposite way. So for this one, like a normal ply is like what you have there. I don't know if you can see it there. So they're pretty evenly matched. Just gonna undo that because I don't want it that way. With this ply, I want the white to be held a little more loosely and further away. So the pink I will hold tightly and close. So that way, when I apply it, it bubbles like that. You see how it's got those little bubbles? And it's more like the white is wrapped around the pink than that they're intertwined. So it's a little different style. And here you can see with this yarn that it's thick and thin all the way along. And the pink is pretty consistent. Not perfect, but... And that's literally just the angle that I'm holding it on. And making sure the pink stays solid and the white just kind of wraps around it gently as I go. So I'm really just guiding that. I'm not holding it, I'm holding the pink. So that's the difference. That's what creates this ply. So see, I'm holding this far away and lightly, and I'm holding this tight and close. And you can't see anything because of the angle of the camera. Perfect. See? So that's what it looks like. So then I can have enough there that I can wind on. And then get a little bit more length. Sorry, that's kind of loud. And then again, make sure I have my hold right. And With this ply, I really don't capture the twist and let it move up. I kind of let it go as I spin. Like, there's really not a whole lot of like park and draft. It's more spin and draft, which can make it a little bit more challenging. But I mean, it's so pretty. I think that the results are worth it. So yeah, that's just a nice little start on that. And like I said, I just think it's a really pretty, different way of doing it. And it's also a really, I think, a really nice way to use up your thick and thin, especially if you're a beginner. Then you can just save it until you are more practiced and can make a thinner core yarn to use. And you can make something that looks just like that. It's so pretty. I mean, it doesn't have to be these colors, obviously, but it's just an idea that you can use for really making sure that you don't feel like a yarn that is imperfect is wasted. It's never wasted. Even if you plied that to itself or didn't ply it and just made something with it, like, it's never a waste. It's just, it's art. It's beautiful and it's unique, and no matter how you choose to use it, you can't go wrong. But yeah, there's an option if you wanted to make something pretty and unique to go with your pretty and unique thick and thin. Like, I purposefully had to do this thick and thin because it's been quite a while since I've started, and I'm a little more consistent now. There's still some thick and thin. That's partly because this one in particular was felted, so it had a lot of stuff in it that I had to work with or through, but that's more the level of my consistency now. So making this was actually a fun challenge. And it's extra fun, I think, to make the thick and thin because you don't have to like worry or think about what you're doing. You just kind of keep going and see what happens. It's great. Anyway, so yeah, that's the story of this fun version of plying that I do. All right, here we go. I got my plying spindle and 2 drop spindles, quite full of yarn. Now, one of the tricks that you can use if you don't have multiple spindles is you can just unwind these onto like a toilet paper roll or like whatever you have handy that you can tie them to or wrap them onto. That's out of the way. I even heard somebody would actually try to actually slide the whole thing off onto like a chopstick or something. So those are some options for getting them off a spindle so that you can ply them onto a different spindle. So like I said, I always just knot the end to make it really easy to get started. And as always, spin, ply. Always go the opposite direction. So I like to hold it so that they're separated and then pinch them together so that they ply together. And this kind of plying, where it's just like a regular 2-ply, there's nothing really fancy or anything about this ply. I will do the park and draft method. So there you go. There's the ply going in. You can see the ply back, what it looks like. And as always, if you don't like the look of it, you can undo it, or you can do what I'm doing here. And like if I find that I want it a little tighter, that's what I'll do. There we go, that's decently balanced. Yeah, if you have a balanced yarn, you'll only get one little twisty thing. And it'll be a single, it won't be twisted up into multiple sections like that. So I say this is decently balanced because it's only a little bunched up. So usually as soon as I can, I wind on when I'm plying because I really don't want it to slip off. And I have had that happen before, and I don't find it fun, so. There we go. That one just has the one. And that's a pretty nice little ply there. That's what I want the whole thing to look like. So there you go. That is how I ply just a regular 2-ply. I mean, the main difference from the that kind of wonky thick thin one I was doing is where you hold the yarn. Like with this one, I want the pieces together because I want them to be as even as possible. Like I don't want it to ball up. I want it to be nice and flat and together. So that's the main difference. So I'll actually make sure they're like tightly even together and then let it go into it. And then I'll check it. Maybe add a little bit more if I feel it can. See, that's a beautiful balance right there. And just keep going like that. All right, chain ply on the fly. So we start off as usual with a single. So there's a single, it's all wrapped around my hand. It was a big single, so ignore how wild and crazy it is. All right, so you have your piece there. Literally just wrap it around so that you have a loop. Sorry, maybe I'll make it smaller. There, so just a loop, just wrapped around the hook. Take your another piece of single, pull it through, and that gives you 3 pieces. So to reiterate, start with a single, keep it attached to the hook, unwind it onto your hand, take the single, loop it around your hook so that you have a loop, pull more of your single through so that you have 3 pieces, and ply. Okay, so I'll put this on and we'll do it again. Okay, so loop, single, pull it through the loop as much as you want. And then this piece comes up to make your 3rd ply. I like to pull it through so that I have a little loop over, where's the camera? There, over my thumb. And that way that doesn't get caught up in the ply. Remember, always spin the opposite way when you ply. 3 ply. Wind it on. Again, I have the loop over my thumb. Take that off, take your single, pull it through, add as much to it as you like, pull it up, grab a loop that I put personally over my thumb. Again, looks like this, and ply. And when you're plying, always go the opposite way that you spin. And there we have it. Loop off the thumb, pull your single through, pull it up, grab a little loop on the end so you don't lose it, and you ply. I stop as soon as I feel a lot of tension by my thumb. So that's pretty tight ply the way I do it, but you can do it however you feel most comfortable. Now, normally you have to spin some single in between all of these loops, but like I said, I had a whole bunch of single, so I just wrapped the entire thing on my hand. So I'm doing this for a bit, so I will come back when I have this handful done. It's gonna take a while, clearly. So here is my 3-ply. This is the end of my single that's still wrapped around my hand. So when you want to start making a single again, you take your loop, wrap it around the top of the spindle, and then your single will wrap around the cop, just on top of your ply. And then you take it to wrap it around and hook it. And then you can continue spinning from there. All right, so once we're done spinning some more single, it's time to take it off onto your hand. So it's called the butterfly. You just kind of go back and forth with your fingers while unrolling the spindle. And once you get to know it, you can go really fast. Slow down again, show you. All right, so once you're down to thing, obviously, you take your loop off the hook, get it back to the beginning, and start all over again. There we go, that looks better. And that's it. You just continue from there. Once again, when you're done plying, make sure you got your loop. Get your loop over the top of your spindle. I get it as far down as I can. And then you take your single, wrap it around the hook, and you just have enough length to get some nice spin going. And you can continue.